And I'm coming back. Can I get in there? So there we go. All right. What's up, everybody? We are back with the Just Show Up podcast. I'm your host and the owner of my own training, Marcus McDuffie, joined once again by my amazing co-host here, Sean. What's up, Sean?
How you doing?
Horrible.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Enjoying the gloomy Southern California spring, huh? Yeah.
It has been a nice little summer change up, man. I'm a warm weather guy for sure. Even though the studio is 67 degrees.
That's right, all the time.
But yeah, man, we're coming to the end of this month, and every month we send out a client check-in form where clients can kind of go on, give us updates on, hey, like what's going well, where are they struggling, and Sean, you actually noticed a through line for a lot of our members that we kind of want to touch on today. So I just want to give you frame to just go ahead and introduce that, and we can kind of dive in from there.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for those who submitted. It helps us so much. We read everyone. I get my bifocals on, I sit in my leather chair, and I read through them. And I think they just give us such an incredible heartbeat and pulse of what you guys are going through, so I appreciate that. And we love listening to the feedback you have. And I think the big thing today that we were kind of seeing as a through line was feeling frustration in the times when things aren't going perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Maybe new medication. There are some events going on with family. I think right now for us, there's a big transition, of going from that spring to summer, of, looking ahead to summer vacation, how that just interrupts routine and consistency. And I think within that, one of the big things that we wanted to talk to you all about today is being able to be flexible and have grace with what your baseline is from a day-to-day perspective in the studio.
Yeah.
I think within that, I've been through it. Marcus, you've probably been through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Where you show up to the studio, you have an expectation for what you're going to hit. It's very rigid. It's like, I did this last week. I'm going to do it again today. You get on the bar, you go to pull it, and you're like, whoa, that feels 9 times harder than it used to. And there's that moment, I think, of kind of immediate doubt where you just feel, what's wrong? Why am I not as strong as I thought I should be? And I think it's in those moments that it's really helpful to just take an objective approach and look at what's going on in your life currently.
Yeah.
I think the analogy that I always love to use is investing when it comes to strength training and building muscular tissue and healthy habits. And just like an investing strategy never goes purely up with no dips or bounces or anything else, your strength journey is the same way. And I think it really helps from 2 points, from kind of a psychological mentality, but also just from a physical standpoint of having grace, having levity, and having understanding for the things in your life that maybe you can't control that are contributing to how you show up in the studio on that day. And I think those moments for us are always, they're really big breakthrough moments that lead to greater, more sustainable gains in the long term. Because if you can look at a day as just that, as a day, and not a massive hiccup in the plan that you have for yourself, that's, again, our mentality towards strength training. And I think that's where our clients really find, one, you kind of take the pressure off to be perfect all the time, which no one's ever expecting you to be.
Exactly.
I mean, I struggle with that, but I think that it's a bad expectation. And I think more so than that, it gives you a better objective idea of, okay, maybe I only slept 2 hours last night. So next time I come to this move, let me try to sleep 5 to 6 hours and see how that improves my overall performance in the studio.
Yeah, I think you made a good point too there on like how big of a moment that is, because even for myself last year, one of the biggest moments in my lifting career was I had been working all year. I wanted to hit this certain weight on my birthday, and I got nowhere close. I was like 40 pounds less than I've ever done on the weight, and it felt like the heaviest thing in the world. And I just sat there, and I was so happy, right? I was so happy because I was like, wow, I actually could still do a lot of weight. It wasn't this ideal goal that I had in the sky, but it really made me reflect on how far I've come and how much work that I put into my body and my health. And I think, that's a big thing to Sean's point there is your goal, okay, on May 26th, I'm going to lift 100 pounds.
Right.
No, it's nobody's goal, right? But sometimes you get in here and you're like, well, I did 100 last week. I have to, it's like, that's not how it goes, right? Like there's there's seasons and cycles to things, right? Like, there are times where you just can't sleep as well.
Yeah.
You do have family in town. You went on a vacation. You're feeling a bit under the weather, whatever it may be. And I think that kind of goes back to that big thing is of investing is like, yeah, you just show up. You dollar cost average your health. You say every single time, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I can.
Yeah.
And I know even if I don't hit 100 pounds, are you not getting stronger if you hit 85? You are. You're still working those muscles, you're still giving your body what it needs there. So I think that's a huge thing, especially with some of the check-in notes we've been seeing on what people are struggling with right now.
Yeah.
And I really encourage you all to go right now, if things are all over the place, your goal is to show up to the best of your ability and take care of yourself. I don't care if you lift 5 pounds and last week you did 25.
Yeah.
You're here, you're moving your body, and you're sending the message that even in the chaos of everything, I am important enough to take care of myself. And I think that's another like huge piece in there for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I love about working at this space in this studio is the ability to work collaboratively and creatively with how you advance your strength journey. I think that so much of the industry at time makes you feel like if I'm not increasing externally, then I'm falling behind. And I don't think that's always the case, again, and especially when you take time, which is I think the most powerful asset you have in investing, right? And
Yeah.
definitely in health as well, is that the sum total of days done will always outweigh brief moments and spikes of intensity. So for us, what we love to do is, let's break it down to a more granular level of, okay, maybe weight is lagging behind. Can we increase volume with repetition? Can we focus on mastery today? Can you have a better understanding of the movement in your body? And again, what that does is it really allows you to look more productively at the small wins of one, showing up to Marcus's point, which is an incredible one, but two, did I train today or did I just come to sweat and work out? If you came in and you even got 1% more competency to the move,
Yeah.
you did one more rep than you did last week, and even if the weight's lagging behind a little bit, you're still moving in a positive trajectory. It might not be this huge spike that you're expecting of yourself, but I think the old adage that I always love is, if you want to make the universe laugh, tell it your plans, right?
Yeah, man. And I think that's like, and we both had the experience for like 1 week you go in,
Yeah.
and you can't even do like, you are like 50 pounds off of what you did the week before.
Right.
And then you go in the next week and you're like, oh, okay, I'm all that strength and some, right? And there's a really big thing of like keeping that consistency, because if you would have missed that workout or just said, oh, like I don't feel strong today and then stopped, there's so much other progress that was lost. There's been plenty of times where on my main exercise, my big lift, I can't do as much. But then on all the accessories, I'm like kicking butt. Yeah. And it's like, it's such a fun experience that, I hope that you all like listening, you give yourself the opportunity to experience that yourself, and just go, hey, my hip's feeling a bit off today. I'm feeling a bit more tired. I didn't sleep as well. There's no need to beat yourself up and, oh my God, why didn't you sleep better? If it's a consistent thing, we can look at that. But if it's just like a couple nights, like show up, do the best you can, and just sit in that and go, hey, 3 years ago, I probably wasn't doing anything, especially for a lot of our members.
Yeah.
If they look a couple of years back, they weren't doing anything. They were hoping that they were taking care of their body. They hated the way they felt.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter if you do 20s or 25s. 3 years ago, you were doing nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset and the thought that we want to continually have is in this grander scheme of things, on the wider scale, as long as I'm moving forward, like step back and be happy about that. Like, oh my God, I can't lift 25s today. You know what yourself would have said to that when you started your fitness journey?
Yeah.
They would have been pissed. They would have been like, you did 20s? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to look at it from.
Yeah.
So
definitely. And I think the last little adage that I'll add that I love to think about is when I have those moments of frustration, I take a step back and I really reflect on, am I in love with how I think I should move or what movement does for me in a greater scheme? And I think frustration can be a good and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because one, it shows that you care.
Yeah.
Like if you come in, you're like, I can't move this today, whatever. Like that shows me again, like there is some level of buy-in and being able to harness that in a positive fashion to say, okay, today didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to. Why didn't it go the way I wanted it to?
Yeah.
Is it in my control? Maybe it's not. If it's not, let me take the time just to have a moment of reflection and, again, grace to my body, because it's such an incredible machine that even if you're on a new medication that's wiping you out, your body's still walking through the door and showing up. And that's a
Man,
moment to celebrate, right?
exactly.
And on the flip side of that, if it is something that I didn't sleep great, or last night I stayed up and I did this or that, it's an opportunity for you to say, how can I refine my process, get a better understanding of how to feed my body, and then have the excitement of saying, next week, I'm going to fix that small thing if it's in my control, and then kind of revel in the victory of that. Because I know that you might agree, there's no better feeling when you have a down week and you come back in, you make a small change, you have an up week, and you're like, all right, baby, we're back. Like,
Yeah,
we're back
no,
on the journey.
that's
And you just
huge.
keep going up and down and up and down, and then it levels out over the course of, again, a lifelong commitment to health and habit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to end on too. Of just because that's the reality is for us with the members that we work with that are pretty much for the most part all over 40.
Yeah.
There is no here,
No.
right? Like that is fiction. That is what your perfectionist mind may want you to think, so
Right.
it can kind of go, well, you didn't do as well and sweep you under. But the reality is, yeah, like our members, they're gonna have injuries, they're gonna have bad
Yeah.
sleep nights, they're gonna have health events and medication that like wipes them out, and we've seen it time and time and time again.
Yeah.
Hey, you can have a horrible month of workouts
Yeah.
and still go, I'm really, really proud of myself for showing up in this month.
Yeah.
And then that could be the catalyst for a lot of people going forward once they do, start to feel better after. So
Right.
I think to end this off on everything, if you are currently, caught up in like, oh, well, I'm not going up all the way, or you have something in your life right now that may be out of your control, or maybe you haven't fully realized, how I can deal with it all the way,
Right.
the best thing that you can do is continue to show up because it forces you to interact. And when you interact, you learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you interact, you learn. If you just say, I'm not going to do it, I'm not feeling, you never give yourself the opportunity,
Right.
right? So that's a huge thing for us. Big red sign, just show up.
Yeah.
And don't, my peeps, if you have any follow up questions, or if you just want to say, hey, I like these guys' office, you can put that in there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are a current member, we will see your lovely faces in the studio soon. If you're not, and you're like, I want to work out at a place that isn't so judgmental and they're not making me step on a scale every single day, then just shoot us a message below, or you can send us an email at info@iontraining.com, and we'll hook you up with your first 2 weeks on the house. All right, we're back in business. Oh.
Good one.